accidentally punching yourself in the face with the weights, which almost happened to me once. Next time, I'm just going to say it as one sentence and we can skip to the next bit. So, weights, here we go. This is my chance. Sometimes it's just fun to pick stuff up. It's basically the same thing. At least I balanced it. Yo, what's going on, guys? Rhys here from Modern Lifting with the Modern Lifting Podcast. Conversations about calisthenics, bodyweight training, gymnastics, all that good stuff. I'm Rhys, a personal trainer from the UK and founder of modernlifting.com. And in this episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about combining calisthenics and weight training, or various styles of, because it's not illegal to do a bit of both. It can be very beneficial, and they both work your body in different ways, which is what we're going to get into in this episode. So first off, weights can complement your training. Actually, before we get into that, so I was coaching last night, doing the group class at Reigate, and we were doing skill stuff, which was brilliant. And we were doing like lever stuff, like front lever stuff, back lever stuff, loads of skill stuff, planche stuff with resistance bands and all kinds of stuff. Ben was down there, which was really good fun. My mate Ben, who you should all be familiar with now. I need to get him on for a chat, because it'd be really good just to listen to him chat about what he gets up to, because it's almost the total opposite of me in some ways. So lots of training, basically, loads of fun stuff. Skills training again tonight, obviously, but I'm just going to be at home, so it's going to be nice. And I might be going down to, there's a gym opening up in the area. I might go down there tomorrow. And I might go down there tomorrow and check that out and meet some of the guys down there. So, updates next time about that. So, basically, lots of training has been happening, lots of skill stuff. And it's nice, actually, when you're in a skill cycle, actually getting, like, group stuff. It's an excuse to get a group class to do some calisthenics skills as well, rather than just basic strength stuff, working on because that's what all that stuff's for, isn't it? You work on all that stuff so you're stronger and more capable, so you can do the skills and kind of push the limits and the boundaries. So that's great. No, we had the rings out, we had the bars out. We were doing started with like inverted hangs and like German hangs and things like that. Actually no, L-sits and crow stands, like floor stuff, to get the isometric, like total body tension thing going on. So that we can push the limits a little bit afterwards. And I just love doing skills, so that's just awesome in my opinion. And some handstand bits, and like say some planche stuff with the bars. So Ben was working on the planche, and I was getting him to do some with a resistance band, because he's like me. He just wants to jump in the deep end. He doesn't want to sit around with tuck planches for 30 seconds, even though I recommended it. He's like, nah, just give it harder. So because we had the resistance band there, like, that's all right. That can kind of compensate a little bit, and it can get him at least into a nice, decent straddle position. And so that's what we were doing, basically. Holds of time there with the planche, and loads of front lever and back lever stuff. So that's a little bit about what I've been up to. Anyway, in this episode, we're talking about calisthenics and weight training. All right, there's nothing wrong with combining the two. Like I've already said, it can be very beneficial to do that as well. Personally, I'm not doing any weight training at the minute. I haven't for ages, really, except for like the one odd session in Bulgaria or whatever. But they're really great. Weights are awesome. Okay, the reason I do the bodyweight stuff is because I like doing the skills. I like the variety. I like learning the different variations and testing myself with new stuff and challenges and actually having something to show for my training. But you can still do that and still do weight training if you want. You can do a bit of both. If you go down the gym to do your bodyweight stuff, your calisthenics, why not do some weights, push that hypertrophy or whatever, depending on what your goals are, of course. But you can use weights, cable machines, all kinds of stuff like that to help kind of bridge the gap between different skills and progressions, and really help push the boundaries and help you progress to skills that so far are like miles out your reach. You can just like do things like drop the weight on it and do like a similar exercise that works all those muscles or simulates the movement, but loading it with weights rather than having to do like handstand push-ups, for example. If you can't do a handstand, then you need to be doing something else to be able to simulate that movement pattern. So that's kind of, weights can complement the calisthenics training. So there's nothing wrong with doing both. Like, you're not going to have some calisthenics police turning up, arresting you for weight training. It's not. It's okay. You're allowed. I'll give you permission if you want. But yeah, like I said, they are different. So there's different types of stress, right? First, because when you're loading with body weight skills, like you're hanging from your bar or whatever, or you're supporting yourself on some dipping bars or in a handstand or anything like that, it's only your body weight. So you're only positioning yourself, controlling yourself, maintaining your position. But when you're holding a big heavy weight, that puts you in a place where you're off balance and off kilter, off center, where all your weight is distributed in different parts, depending on whether you're holding a barbell or dumbbells or kettlebell, or if you're on a cable machine, it's kind of different, or if you're on like a weight machine, it is different because you're usually seated or standing in a fixed position, But if you're doing something like lifts, or anything kind of more complex with heavier weights, you've got to position yourself and maintain a good position, like a good stack, while still pushing out the reps, all right? Because it's easy for you to put yourself in a bad position and risk injury, or like accidentally punching yourself in the face with the weights, which almost happened to me once, but we won't talk about that in this episode. Stuff like that. Basically, it's different. It's a different type of stress. Like holding a weight out in front of you is different. Like doing an overhead press is different to a handstand push-up. It just is. Even though they're basically like the same movement, that the difference between holding a big weight, like whatever your body weight, I don't know, is like 70 kilo kind of military press. So if you're doing like a 70 kilo military press, or you're doing like a handstand push-up, if you weigh about 70 kilos, then they should be kind of the same thing, right? But actually, comparing the two, trying the two, they're totally different exercises. Even though they're the same, they work the same muscles, it's the same kind of structure, and you're just upside down pushing up instead of the right way up pushing the weight up, so that's quite a good example. So then you got different types of stability as well, which is kind of what I just spoke about, but it goes even further when you're doing things like kettlebell stuff and holding stuff above your head or in front of you or whatever, and positioning your spine properly and maintaining good posture is really important. Especially if you get to more complicated stuff like Olympic lifts, which I haven't bothered with, to be honest with you, not really. But I've seen it. I've seen people hurt themselves doing stuff as well. So it's really important that you have maintained or work that stability in both sides. If you haven't done any calisthenics, trying to hold yourself up off the ground on your hands, like in a crow stand or something like that, would be quite difficult. And it would be the same if you haven't, like me, you haven't done any weight training for a while, and then you go and try and do some bench pressing. You're not used to just isolating your kind of shoulders and your chest and your arms. Usually your kind of back's all involved, but when you're lying down on something, immediately that stuff's all turning off, because you've got something to rest on. So that kind of stress, and that kind of stability that you need to maintain the position nice, that isn't work the same as when you're doing the other type of training. So they complement each other very well, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So next time, I'm just going to say it as one sentence and we can skip to the next bit. So weights, here we go. There's my chance. Weights can aid progression. Right, so that's the next one. Weights can actually aid your progression, your development, if you're working on something like a specific skill or whatever. I mean, skills or exercises. So you can either use them to isolate muscles, so doing things like, I don't know, like triceps, what are they called, skull crushers, or just some curls, or doing some drop sets on with the dumbbells of whatever, or on the cable machines. I used to do them a lot at the end of the session for finishers. So me and my mate, when we first started going down the gym, we do all our weight stuff and our more complex movements, and then right at the end we just do a drop set for finishers of bicep curls and the kind of tricep push down, the cable one, I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, and that's how little I do cable stuff like that with people. So basically, we used to just do them. We'd start on level 10 and we'd work our way down to nothing. And by the time it's just really good isolated training. I mean, I wouldn't recommend people do it now, but at the time when I first started, that's kind of what I wanted to do. So that's what I did, At least I balanced it. Yeah, that's one thing. So so then that's basically what I'm saying. Isolated muscle exercises you can do easily with weights, which is much more difficult with bodyweight stuff and calisthenics. It's just so much harder. Also, you can work on like lower than body weight skills. So when you're doing stuff like hanging, like I already said, with calisthenics and bodyweight stuff, you're basically hanging or you're like supported on your hands when you're doing exercises. So if you can't support your whole weight, or you can't like hang off the bar comfortably or easily, then that already puts you at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to doing a lot of training, because you can't do a lot of the stuff just straight up. Whereas with the weights, you can drop, so you're working under your body weight. So say you can't do a pull-up and you weigh 70 kilos, or say 75 or whatever, it doesn't matter, just 70 kilos, and then you can't do a pull-up. So instead, if you did something like a lat pull-down, the pull-down machine, you could do them on 35 kilos. So that's half your body weight, essentially, isn't it? Or you could do it on 30 kilos, or you could do it on 50 kilos. Either way, you can start as low as you need to and build your way up, simulating the exact same movement, more or less. I mean, I've already explained how they are slightly different, but it's basically the same thing. All right, so you can use that, you can mix that up with your negatives, you can mix that with isometrics or whatever, and loads and loads of pull-up gains. That's basically how it works. So stuff like that you can use is really, really good for it. So definitely there's an option. So also, just sometimes, this is the next one, sometimes it's just fun to pick stuff up. Sometimes it is fun to just pick some stuff up, like heavy things, just pick them up and put them down, throw them on the ground, or like throw them in the air, or I wouldn't really recommend throwing them in the air or at people, but you have the option to do stuff like that. You can't really do that with your body weight. So sometimes it's just fun. It's a different type of training, and you can kind of get excited about doing weights again rather than always doing weights and just being bored. So that's, it is fun. All right. Sometimes it is nice. You will, like I say, you got your options for your isolated training, but also things like legs and stuff like that. Legs is a big one, because a lot of leg stuff, especially with bodyweight stuff, requires really good mobility, good stability and balance and coordination, and it's just a lot going on, just in order to create enough stress and enough like weight, quote unquote. Whereas with weight training, obviously you can just do squats, you can just do like leg presses, or whatever you fancy. Basically, you've got the machines there, you got your dumbbells there, you can do lunges, you've got barbells there. You have options of things you can do. What I would recommend if you are doing weight training is that you really avoid the isolated stuff as much as you can and focus on more big compound exercises. And that's just because the balance thing, the total body thing, like all these points which are important with the calisthenics as well, but are kind of naturally integrated. When it comes to training with weights, you've got to think about these as well, because you don't want to create imbalances. You don't want to create like muscle kind of imbalances that force little compensations. Next thing, you're out of alignment because you've been training out of position instead of into it. So you've been worsening your technique rather than improving it over time. And that's really easy to do with skills and high level stuff with calisthenics. It's like you teach yourself bad habits. And with weights is easy to do, and as soon as you get into any kind of heavy weight, like, you just risk seriously hurting yourself. So it's always important to be consistently improving. Form technique is never going to be like 100% perfect, okay? And it varies from set to set, from rep to rep, from day to day. It's always changing. So it's just important every time to be thinking, concentrate on that. Try and work your best form as good as you can, maintain the position, and then move on to the next one. So I'm basically now I'm just going to give you a couple of ideas that you can do for some training with some weight stuff. So I used to do, like, one thing I used to do loads was like a curl and press, Chris called it, which is basically like a barbell curl and then overhead press, which is, to me, it was like an opposite muscle up, because you're simulating the movement, but it's like the opposite direction. So you start in like a supported position, but you're holding you're kind of hanging the bar, and then you curl up like you would from your transition to your dip to your pull, and then press out instead of kind of dropping down to a dead hang. So it's like the opposite movement, the opposite stress, if you like. And I thought, that would be a great way to try balancing out muscle ups and stuff like that. And, I didn't really test it, to be honest with you. I just used to do it though, and so but in my head it made sense, and it kind of does. Whether or not it works exactly like that, it probably doesn't, you know what I mean? So don't overdo it. And I wasn't doing super heavy weights either, because like just that barbell curl can be a beast. I mean, so yeah, once you get to like 40 kilos or whatever, it is a monster. You know what I mean? I know that's only a 20-kilo curl each side, but I'm quite light, so like, that's quite a lot for me. quite light, yeah. So for me, even the bodyweight stuff, like that's only loading like 70 kilos max, like really. And to do like a 70-kilo curl at my weight, that's just insane. So yeah, so don't be mean to me about that, all right, guys? So curl, press, kind of think like your bodyweight exercises and think of those kind of movement patterns. So another one I used to do loads was like the same, but with dumbbells instead of a barbell. So I could do one arm at a time. And you can do like a hammer curl or like a regular curl or an overhand curl or like a reverse grip curl or whatever you fancy, really, and then turn, do a press. And, you know, reach as high as you can, probably stretch up with it. Another one, actually, while we're talking about stretching up high, is like a Turkish Getup, which is usually done with kettlebells, and it's basically a way of just standing up off the floor. It is a bit of a challenge, though, for your like coordination and just general like positioning and good muscle tension. So they're definitely really good fun. And once the weight gets up, it is quite difficult as well. So it'll be a challenge for you too. Next one's a personal favorite as well, Bulgarian split squats, which are like, it's like a split squat basically with your leg raised up behind you and loaded. So with these, what I do is like 35 to 40 kilo or something like that, because it's like one leg. So I just take half my body weight-ish and then add that on top and then start pushing the limits with that. And it's great for stability and like really like evening up your legs. Like, it was so important for me to do this for my ACL. So I used to do just loads of these. Every time I went down the gym, I'll be doing Bulgarian splits, and we'll talk about them, and they're really good, and you should definitely do them if you have like the facilities to do them. I don't at the minute, so I don't. But yeah, Bulgarian split squats, they're good fun. Another one I used to do loads as well is arches on like dumbbells. So if you've got nice round dumbbells, they'll roll on the ground. If you've got like hexagonal ones, you won't be able to do this really. But usually gyms have like a couple of both or a bit of both or a rack of each or whatever. So you'll probably have some just round dumbbells around. And basically what you're doing is like an archer push-up, except instead you're doing it with the dumbbells. So you start with them in the position and then you just come straight down onto one arm and fly with the straight arm. So say you're doing them like your archer push-up, you're going down onto your left hand. So instead of starting wide, you start narrow with your dumbbells directly underneath you, like a push-up on the dumbbells. And then you slide out your right arm, because you're going down onto your left, nice and straight, right arm out, come down to flat, just over that your left hand. So what you're doing is staying in the same plane all the time. So when you do arches, it can be kind of awkward because you're shifting your weight right over to the side. So you're like leaning over to do your push-up. This way you're staying in alignment, so it's much more like a one-arm push-up. So it's really good for that, and you're kind of flying as well. You're doing like a fly too, and it's really hard. It's great for like really stretching out your chest, and yeah, it's good fun for finishers too, so give that a try. Another one's the Jefferson Curl, and Jefferson Curls are like, it's like bending over and touching your toes on steroids. You just do it with a barbell or like some dumbbells if you want, or a kettlebell even, and you start standing up and then you just roll the bell like a barbell, or get the dumbbells and just roll your hands down, get your legs to go underneath your feet, so you stretch right down and then you kind of fold back up again, one vertebrae at a time, go ding, 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 until you stack back up and standing straight. And you just do that for reps, basically. So it's kind of like a stretchy deadlift, weird kind of all kinds of things. And it's really good for you, and it's tough and it's good, and it'll make your handstand press easy, maybe. Don't quote me on that, but it will definitely help you touch your toes if you can't already. It'll almost force you to. Yeah, so the last one then is the cable machine. So I've said loads about a cable machine already, but that actually you can use the cable machines to simulate rings as well, but without you using as much as your body weight. So if you don't have rings available, but you've got a cable machine in your gym, like think of what exercises you could do, and like muscle up progressions, for example. With a cable machine, you can drop below your body weight. So say I don't know, it doesn't matter. You could say you do it with just 20 kilos. So you're doing muscle ups with a 20 kilo weight. So you're not really doing a muscle up per se, but you're doing like you're simulating that pull-up transition to dip on the rings, but you're using the cable machine. So you use just a single grip, like a single hand grip in each side. They have like those kind of TRX grip things, don't they? So you just whack one of them in each. It's not a perfect ring, but it's good enough. You can even get kneeling down on the floor. You can just, right in the middle, you can probably even go to like a dead hang, activate your shoulders, go through all the motions perfectly. Straight arm down the bottom. You can even do a cheeky cross if you want. But before I encourage people to do that, if you're thinking of trying to do the cross, the cable machines is great, but you got to start on the lowest weight. Okay, you have to, because if you start pushing it, it's so different to anything else you've done, like training across. It just is. It's just so different. So before you jump into something like that, thinking, I'll just start on like 15 kilos or whatever, you do risk injury. So you got to start really low and work your way up. All right. But I used to do it for the cross when I was trying to learn the cross. I never actually managed the cross because I just stopped training it after a while, or got injured or something or whatever. And so I've never actually done a cross, but that's maybe something I could start working on after I hit my 100 push-up challenge goals. So guys, weight training with calisthenics is okay. Giving you some ideas and some ways that you can use weights to help you with your calisthenics goals, and I encourage you to do so if you've got the facilities. If you go down to the gym to do your calisthenics stuff, like, why not just do some weights sometime, just to mix it up a bit, but for the variety for you, make it a bit more fun and challenge yourself in different ways, because like carrying a 100 kilo barbell is not like doing a handstand. All right, guys, that's it. So as always, if you like what you heard, give us a like, subscribe, honest 5-star rating and review, wink wink. Share us with your mates, training partners, and anyone else that you think, share it with them, whoever you're talking to, whoever's sat on your left. And guys, otherwise I will catch you in the next one. If you've got any questions, reach out to me at Morgan Lifting everywhere. The best place is just DM me on Instagram, and I'll catch you in the next episode. As always, keep in touch with yourselves, and I'll speak to you then.